The delegate from Newport News, Delegate Price.
Speaking to the bill, Mr. Speaker.
The delegate has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I will be very honest. I did not go to MIT and I don't work in technology, but I'm not going to play Oppression Olympics and compare my experience as a black woman and being overly policed or having been through situations where I've been profiled, because I think it's all bad. My issue and concern is, first, if we support this and we go home, one of the things people are going to ask is, so what does the bill do? And if many of us are honest in this conversation and the many reiterations of the bill, you have no clue. But what I can say is that some of the talking points about the legislation are not matching up with what the actual bill does. The talking point about this helping with crime is based in the same fear where we had an overreach in our civil liberties based out of fear before. So I would caution the body to be very careful about what we are believing about the bill versus reading with our own eyes. Second, I would caution that in order for this bill to allow the technology to do some of the things that it's promising to do, mass surveillance has to be coupled with it. And I can tell you where some of those video cameras are going to be. And it's in communities that are expecting their member to speak up for them in this body. I am honestly baffled that this bill has so much support from certain demographics. I thought my libertarian brothers and sisters were going to stand up with me too. This is Big Brother. It's here right in front of us right now. And speaking of which, when we're talking about what's in the actual bill, it's referenced, and I'm sorry if it's NIST or NIST, the vendor test that's in the bill. In a more recent study than has been referenced, it says for false positives, using the higher quality application photos, false positive rates are highest in West and East African and East Asian people and lowest in East European individuals. This effect is generally large with a factor of 100 more false positives between countries. However, with the number of algorithms developed in China, this effect is reversed. Blah, blah, blah. With domestic law enforcement images, the highest false positives are American Indians with elevated rates in African American and Asian populations. Mr. Speaker, I'm not asking for perfect, but I am asking for fair. This isn't saying that the technology is just bad and needs to be improved. It's saying that it's bad and there are certain people who are already at the receiving end of so much that would be in the disparity for the use of this technology. So there are plenty of reasons for people all over this chamber to vote no on this bill, and I hope that they will. Thank you.
The delegate from Culpeper, Delegate Freitas.
Just so we can thoroughly confuse everyone, Mr. Speaker, speaking to the bill.
The delegate has the floor.
I actually find myself agreeing with many of the comments that were just brought up, Mr. Speaker. And the issue I have with this, and the reason why when we went through the committee process on this and I was willing to work with the patron, was in part because I do believe that there's some truth to what Delegate Bourne is saying, is that it's already being used and it will probably be used in the future. But there were certain things that I wanted to see go along in the process, and many of those things have been attempted. Some of those things have proven very, very difficult to achieve. I certainly do not claim an MIT degree like my distinguished colleague, Delegate Hayes, but I will say this. I've been on the other side, not on the development side, not on the technology side. I've been on the analytics side, the person sitting in front of the screen using these tools for the analysis that was then going to facilitate operations that were going to be conducted. And I'm very concerned about the government having this kind of power. And I realize that the technology exists, but honestly, part of my concern is not the technology not working the way it's supposed to. I'm worried about when the technology works exactly the way it's supposed to, and all of a sudden CCTV is pulled, or even better, it's looped into a central database, where now any camera that can be picked up on a warrant that has tracked anything sat on a street corner This technology is now improved to such a degree where it can automatically identify who you are based off of facial recognition. And yeah, I understand I use facial recognition to open my phone, but that doesn't potentially put me into a situation where I'm going to have to defend myself in court. And so the idea of the government keeping a massive database based off of the various warrants it can pull for cameras all over the country at any given time, and then store that information about where any one of my constituents were at any given point of time, even if they had nothing to do with the overall investigation, that data has been collected, analyzed, and stored. And quite frankly, I'm sorry, I see the potential for government overreach within this component, within this capability. And while I do very much genuinely appreciate the people that have worked, I believe absolutely in good faith to set up those guardrails, I don't see how we do it, and I certainly don't see how this bill is currently at the position where we can guarantee that that overreach is not going to take place. And so while I was happy to try to give people of goodwill the opportunity to work as best they could, I'm sorry, I can't vote for this piece of legislation in good conscience. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
The delegate from Washington, Delegate Wampler.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Members, speaking of this bill,
The delegate has the floor.
a lot has been said. Everybody's probably got a thought already made up in their mind about how they want to go on this. The only things I'll add, there's all sorts of different fights out there in America, politics. The right to privacy, individuals' right to privacy is going to become more and more important as all of us continue on, okay? And this is the first fight in Virginia that we're really having about it, and that's a good thing. Glad to see it's got everybody's interest. The only other thing that I'll add is that think about the database. 10 billion pictures of us and our constituents that are going to be in this database. I couldn't imagine a better target if I was a foreign actor to try to hack and get access to. And everybody in this room is aware of what's happened in Virginia over the last 6 months when it comes to data security. There are a million reasons to vote no on this. I'm going to vote no because I know that none of the constituents that I represent in Southwest Virginia wanted us to create a facial recognition database with them in it. And so thank you, members. Appreciate the time.
The delegate from Chesapeake, Delegate Leftwich.
Mr. Speaker, just one last comment, and that is the database already exists, folks. It already exists. It's in private hands. You know, if I had the capability to hack into a private database, I could have all that information. State police are already using it. Do you want them to use it with guardrails or not? Simple as that.
Shall the bill pass? Clerk will close the roll.
Ayes 46, noes 53.
Ayes 46, noes 53. The bill fails to pass.